This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Vixen Hair. The extension specialists have 2 locations here in Brisbane, as well as a mobile service. So if you're looking to achieve the hairdo of your dreams, look no further than vixenhair.com.au and tell them St James's Pod sent you. Enjoy the episode. St James's Pod, this one is a look ahead to Chelsea at home, which is the last game we have before the World Cup break, which is weird to say, but I'm here with Tom and Pete. Once again, Alex is away for this one. How are you two boys doing this week?
Spot on, Paul. How about yourself?
Canny?
I am pretty good. Looking forward to this game, to be honest. I think we're going to turn them over. So half five, Saturday night, last game for the World Cup. It's a smash up. Oh, it's a terrible time for me.
Can't wait. Are you going to?
Like 3:30 in the morning.
No, I'm not at that one. But obviously, George's birthday, isn't it? So down in Leeds, celebrating with him. But we'll be watching.
Shout out JK.
All right.
How old are you going to
be? 32
not young and 25.
Still quite young, though.
32 for the bong eye.
Right, let's get on to this game, lads. So,
is it a football podcast? Is
it? Obviously, most people listening to this will know our form coming into this game, but just to remind everyone, it is working from the last game backwards: win, 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 draw. Chelsea's is lose, lose, draw, draw, win. So they are on a terrible run.
Might as well be playing fucking Hartlepool.
Is that a good thing for us, or do you think that could work against us in the fact that they really need a result before this break?
Well, obviously, it's not going to put pressure on the manager. Well, you'd like to think it wouldn't put pressure on the manager because he's only just through the door. Is Graham Potter, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to be, leaving it on another defeat and being further behind in sort of or putting themselves at risk of falling out of the top 4. So yeah, I think it's a good time for us to play them. I think we haven't necessarily done so well against the Graham Potter teams in the past. It's obviously the first time we'll have played them with this Chelsea team, but we have had a pretty decent record at home against Chelsea in recent times as well. So I think all signs seem to lead towards a good result coming. So yeah, I'm confident.
So what do you make of Potter so far at Chelsea?
It's hard. It's hard just to say at the minute. A lot of people say he's out of his depth at the minute. I don't know. He's come into a massive club, massive players, massive egos. No disregard to Potter. We know he's a brilliant manager. What he did at Brighton, he's a great manager. But do some of these Chelsea players think, who's this bloke like? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's he got to show to tell me how to play, to tell us how to win? It wouldn't surprise us that there's some egos like that. Top clubs like that, with players with massive wage bills. It wouldn't surprise us to have players like that.
Yeah, it's a good point, and to see how he manages players like that. He's got like Kukurea and that, that he obviously knows from Brighton.
Plays like Aubameyang, though. What does he do with that?
Yeah. I think that he's definitely one of those that I'd highlight that could be an issue for him in the dressing room on the basis of his ego. I think Potter, he's used to managing a fairly young squad, and he's been really good at bringing through young talent. So I think some of the younger lads in the Chelsea squad will get a better opportunity and a good look in. I know I like Breuer. I think he's progressing, and I'd like to see him get, a real break in this Chelsea team, just to show that they can actually bring through a striker from their reserves rather than just sell them on like they tend to do. But yeah, there are some of those players that just seem to be, just not clicking quite so well at the minute in the Potter system.
There's not a lot of goals being scored at Chelsea. They're finding it hard. They're finding it hard to hit the back of the net. I'm just looking through some of the scores here. You've got your 2-0s, 2-1s, 3-0 against Wolves. That's it. They're finding it hard. There's some losses in there as well. Like there's some decent losses in there. I.e., we all know the defeat to Brighton, the absolute pasting of Brighton, 4-1. Yeah. So it's we're scoring goals. We're scoring goals and keeping clean sheets. It could. I'm going to be confident, mate. I'm confident going into this game. St James's Park will be absolutely bouncing, and I think they will. I think they will be so intimidated. It's a 5:30 kickoff. Everyone's going to have an absolute skinful. It's going to be rowdy in there. Like it's going to be rowdy in there. And games like that under the lights, no one stands a chance. Like I've obviously got my black and white glasses on here, but I can't see. I think we'll be on their backs straight away. And I think players will just.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be similar to the Arsenal game at the end of last season.
Yes, very high. Yeah, that's a good point.
And hopefully, anyway. But and if it is, then yeah, you definitely fancy us. So on head-to-heads, what I'm looking at here is that we've won 6 times, Chelsea's won 13 times, and there's been 1 draw, which that seems a low amount of games. So some of these stats may not be accurate. Just disclaimer.
What are you looking at?
That was off. Yeah, I think this might be my FIFA season.
Jesus Christ!
I think I might have got mixed up. No, that was off sofa score. So yeah,
soccer Saturday is going to.
I'd assume that's correct. But... so one thing that is accurate is that we are 3rd, and we have 27 points.
Yeah,
they are 7th with 21 points. Mm. Yeah, so they're on 21.
They have a game in hand over us, do they?
That's a good question, actually.
I think they do.
They have played 13.
There's a lot of teams that do, to be honest.
Yeah, the Spurs don't. And that's the only one around us, really, that doesn't. By the way, while we've been talking, Villa have scored, but then Man U've also scored, so it's 1-1 in that Carabao Cup game.
Good evening.
Yeah, so... this would be massive, wouldn't it? If we could get 3 points, that puts us 9 points clear of Chelsea.
Going into the break.
I mean, going into the break, but also just when you look at the teams in and around there, like there's obviously Brighton's up there at the moment, but you'd kind of think they'd fall off towards the end of the season.
That's sort of what they do, isn't it?
They might get European football, but they're not going to be challenging for Champions League. Liverpool's obviously had a bad start. But if we could put some distance between us and Chelsea, then the top 5 is looking very realistic.
Yeah. I don't see why not. We're showing that we're competing, with the top 6 or the so-called big 6 so far this season in the games that we've played against them. Obviously, we've got a point away at United. We've beaten Spurs away. We've got a really good point at home to City. should have maybe took that point away from Liverpool. And then, Arsenal were yet to play, but Chelsea were, I think we can. There's no stopping us from getting another win against one of the big six, and actually start to put a case that we should be, being talked about in those sort of terminology of big six
in that same bracket.
In that bracket, for sure. I know there's been teams that have flirted with that, like, and trying to make it into a top seven over the last few seasons. I know Leicester were touted in that bracket for a little while. Obviously, they've tailed off, and there's been teams like West Ham who've kind of in the last few seasons been in and around. But I think, obviously, with the strength that we have now in terms of the owners and everything else, and the fact that we're putting in the results, there's no flash in the pan like those other teams. I think we can start to be recognised alongside those big six as a real force in the league. And another result against one of them at the weekend will it'll only keep the media suggesting that we are the real deal.
100%. And like you mentioned there, we've not played Arsenal yet, who are obviously having a stormer of a season, but Chelsea have, and that was their last game. I don't know if you want to briefly talk about some key moments from that game, or who the squad they put out that might give us some inkling to who they might start in our game.
Yeah, obviously they've gone with Aubameyang against his old club. And
did you see that foul, by the way, when he slid in? I can't remember who it was on, but Arteta was absolutely furious on the sidelines. I thought he was lucky to stay on the pitch, to be honest. I think it was against Ben White, I think.
Nice. He's obviously got some beef, hasn't he, with Arsenal from before. So it was a big call to put him in, and he pretty much flopped a little bit in that game. I felt he's flopped really since he's gone to Chelsea, in my opinion. So I don't know if he'll get another start based on that performance. The likes of Sterling, Havertz and Mount behind him, who started that game, I think will likely be in against us as well. Sterling has been pretty solid against us in his time at City, and so he'd be a concern for sure. Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho as the midfield pairing were in that game against Arsenal. I know they had got Kovacic, who could potentially step in for one of those two. He's one who's started a fair few games for Chelsea in the last few years. So I quite rate Kovacic. So I would maybe see him potentially running Loftus-Cheek close to getting into the starting 11 against us. And then Cucurella, Thiago Silva, Chalobah and Azpilicueta were the back four with Mendy in goal. I can't see too many changes there for our game with regards to that, just due to injuries, unless Koulibaly comes back in potentially. But yeah, no, I can't see there being a lot of changes there.
Well, one thing that might affect their start lineups that we've just got off the back of the cup games. Can you hear that seagull there?
You say, by the way, it's the 10th of November. It's blowing a gale outside, absolutely freezing, and Sam's sat in a hotel room on the coast in fucking Brisbane, moaning about seagulls outside.
Sunshine Coast. I keep getting distracted because there's people surfing. There's people surfing off the balcony,
nightmare.
so
I've got a couple of little Rajis that keep knocking on me fucking door.
Your parents coming around like that?
Oh, hey man.
Turning the lights off, hiding upstairs.
I don't know. Try to trick or treat. No, man, need trick or treaters in this gaff. Like,
oh yeah, so the cup game. Pete, have you?
yeah,
have
I was
you
watching watched the highlights of it and stuff. And it was Chelsea were a bit of they were sharp on the attack. I thought Ziyech and Pulisic looked quick and they linked up well together. City didn't have a fantastic team. It was quite a young side, free side. You know what City are like, the old pet roulette for the cup. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to put a full strength team out, but
yeah,
Chelsea were good on the counter. They had a good chances, and Ortega, the City keeper, pulled off some good saves. Chelsea could have scored a couple, but Ortega definitely kept them out.
Villa are 2-1 up, by the way.
Oh, good evening. The defence, Chelsea's defence, looked a bit scattered, looked a bit mismatched. Chalobah, Correa, Koulibaly. It didn't look great when you seen it on some of the, obviously, when you watch it back on the highlights, they looked a bit all over the place. People didn't really know, they weren't really working as one. It's not going to be the same defence, is it? Do you know what I mean? But it's interesting because Cucurella could well play, Koulibaly could. I know he hasn't been great recently, Koulibaly, but it's a bit. It is good because on when you look at our attack, the way we counter attack, we pile forward with at least 4 men. So it can only be good news that they're like that. You'd think that the whole team is training in that one way. So it doesn't really make any sense. You'd like to think that just because the team that was played last night defended like that, the first team isn't necessarily going to defend any differently because they'll all be training in the same system.
Same system. Yeah.
Aye, so
yeah.
The quality of player will always be better, but
it's kind of what I was saying with us at the back of the cup game is like when individual players are coming in, they all know the system and they can just slot in. And Eddie Howe's got them drilled to play in a certain way. But when you make bigger amounts of changes, you make mass changes, it's harder for that system to stay the same. So, yeah, I'd imagine they'll probably be a lot stronger against us. However, I think one key aspect of this game is going to be the possession. And you'd like to fancy us at home to be the ones to have kept more possession. I know you're saying Chelsea are going to be dangerous on the counter if they're playing those sorts of players, but well, to be honest, they've got great players no matter who they start on. They're like attacking wise on the wings, especially. But
I was going to say, what do you think on Sterling since he's moved?
Well, he's not scored too many. I've got some stats on Chelsea up, and one of them is that he's their top scorer, joint with Havertz in the league. Anyway, this is, I think, but he's only scored 3. But he hasn't been getting asked to be like playing as like a wing back in some games and stuff.
Don't know, mate. I don't think so.
I think the strength in which.
I didn't mean to say I don't think so. I was meant to say not as I know. I shot you. Well, I shot you down there, by the way. No, as
Exactly, shite this.
Wait, you watching later? I've been playing there as a wing back. Was he fucking bollocks? No, not that I know of, mate. Not that I know of. But I could be wrong.
Back to he's not the same sort of player that we're used to seeing him for City in terms of, poaching at the back post for those tap-ins. Because Chelsea
not the same service, though, is it?
No, it's not the same service, but they're not playing like City do in terms of getting really close to the byline, cutting the ball back across, and then Sterling, as we're so used to seeing him just running in back post, easy tap in. That's Chelsea's attacking build-up has not been that same way that City sort of go about their game. So obviously he's still got pace, he's still able to cut inside and score goals. But it's just the manner in which he's getting those goals is changing, and I think it's just he's adapting to this Chelsea system a little bit slower than maybe some people anticipated.
I'd be really interested to see stats on Sterling for shots to goals, because my impression at City is he was getting chance after chance after chance, and he wasn't necessarily clinical. It's just he got that many chances that he'd score a lot of goals. So I'd be interested to know whether he's not scoring as many at Chelsea because he's getting less chances, and he's still just as clinical.
I think it's odd. I think it's the fact that I was going to say I think it's the fact that the quality of player is a lot different between City and Chelsea. We all know that. Look at the lead position. Look at the goals scored. Look at City's goals scored. Look at Chelsea's goals scored. Do you know what I mean? City create a hell of a lot of chances, and Sterling's always in the right place at the right time for City anyway, because he knows the ball's going to drop there. He knows Mahrez is going to do that. He knows De Bruyne is going to do this. It's whereas at Chelsea now, he hasn't got the same. You know what it's like? I know the different positions. I feel like it's almost when Trippier. I keep thinking back to the Cambridge game when Trippier came to us, and he was expecting, because he played for Atletico, he was expecting players to be in this position to do that, but we weren't good enough to do that. I almost think it's the same for Sterling. Sterling's expecting, he's going to put the ball there, I'm going to run here. The quality of player is completely different, and it's not happening. So Sterling's he's either having to drop deeper to get a hold of the ball himself, because, like you say, he'd have chance after chance after chance, and they'd fall to him at the post. Like you say, little tap-ins, stuff like that. It's not happening at Chelsea. Look at what strikers scoring their goals. Who did you say there's a joint? Havertz. You say Sterling the joint? 2 goals.
Yeah, but 3 goals.
He scored 3. I've got some stats up for his 12 appearances that he's had so far for Chelsea in the league, and he's his shots per 90 minutes are down on what he was at City, and his XG as well, expected goals are he's expected to have got 4 goals already in the 12 games. I mean, he's not far off, but it's obviously hard to judge him based off so not a full season's worth, but I think it looks like he's considerably down in comparison to his City stats. Yeah. And again, it's coming down to the fact that he started a season with a different manager, and now he's having to adapt to another manager. So I think you can he's not going to be able to get up to the levels of his last few seasons at City, where he was scoring 13 over 10 goals. He was averaging pretty much at his spell at City. I mean, he'd be obviously lucky to get himself to those levels. He needs to pick up his game to get to that.
It's 2-2 in the Man U Villa Cup game now. So that looks like it might be quite a good game. Might sign off and watch that instead of listening to you two.
There's a lass at work. Rachel at work. She big Man U fan, so she'll be getting the piss ripped out of that tomorrow.
Well, she might not be. It's 2-2 on the
comeback. On C2, however.
You let them score too.
Aye, same thing. Cut.
So, stats on Chelsea this season, and they've won 6, drawn 3, lost 4. Which, it's that lost 4 for me, like, slightly unexpected of a Chelsea side that is full of the amount of quality they have. Let's just briefly talk about the ownership change as well. We've not really spoke about that. Obviously, he's come in back end of last season. He spent a lot of money. Do you feel like that's got anything to do with how Chelsea are playing this season? Or do you think that's a completely different situation to our takeover and it's more high level than what's going on the pitch?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's a like for like in some ways for Chelsea and of what they're used to in terms of the spend that they were doing under Abramovich compared to what they've now been doing with Todd Boehly in the short term at least. They have spent similar sort of sums of money, just quite a big outlay this summer. Obviously, I think they spent the most on transfers out of everybody. I think some of their transfers have been a bit
Wild.
A bit wild, yeah. I think the 60 million on Cucurella was
It's a lot,
on the
really.
face of it,
Fofana as well.
looks like, yeah, Fofana, like Koulibaly's not getting. Yeah,
that was a very strange one, the Fofana for me. Like after breaking his leg.
Yeah, just seems a little like they've gone in with some knee jerk kind of decision making, which.
But they don't have a football director, do they?
No, I think they're still looking for one.
Yeah, they were sort of just splashing the cash, really, willy-nilly.
It seemed from the outside he was playing footy manager a little bit, didn't it? But,
definitely.
Be interesting to get a Chelsea fan's perspective to see if he is tinkering like as much as it comes across, or whether that's a bit of the media stirring things up. But with you just mentioned there, the amount of money they spent on defenders as well, they've actually conceded 16 so far this season. And they've only scored 17. So their goal difference is obviously +1. And compared to ours, we've got +17. Which I know we've had some big wins this season, but obviously our defence is a massive contribution to that.
Yeah, so, they've signed a lot of, like you say, quite a few experienced guys, quite a few young guys as well. Obviously, Cucurella and Fofana are still young in their careers, but Koulibaly's come in and obviously with a huge reputation that he had built at Napoli. So you'd expect them to be a little bit more solid at the back than they have been for sure. But yeah, the big problem has to be the lack of goals and them not having a real recognised big name striker. I say that because Aubameyang is obviously a big name, but he
feels past it, doesn't he?
He does. I think he is. I don't think he's there.
It, not interested.
Yeah, I think the interest. I don't think he's there because he wants to be there. I think him going there seemed very. It didn't seem right. I don't know about you guys.
Well, obviously, when he got his release video, I always remember this. Obviously, with him being an Arsenal player, and he was okay. It sort of trailed off towards the latter of his Arsenal career. But when he's released it, when he signed by Chelsea, it was so mellow and played down by himself that he was like, "Oh, come on, boys!" Like he looked so miserable. And he just had to do this little promo video. And it was like, mate, you don't want to be there. You do not want to play for Chelsea.
No, he went to Barca, and I don't think if he had the choice, he would necessarily wanted to leave Barca. But their situation is widely documented that he pretty much had to go in order for them to settle everything financially on their side. But he's ended up at Chelsea, and just it does seem very much like he's just not interested in being there, and he's not, like you say. I think he is past the point of his prime days at Arsenal. So
there's a player in there. There's a player in there, but his mind's not on the game anymore. He's not. It's like he looks like he's fallen out of love with the game.
Yeah.
When he was still at Arsenal, the big thing people were claiming was that when he got that big contract, he then couldn't be bothered anymore. He was just tools. But
it was his what was it called? His professionalism and stuff. His lack of timekeeping. All that. Like, we've all seen the documentary, the Arsenal Prime documentary, and it highlights it. Arteta, rightly so, Arteta had enough. He cannot let. He was obviously captain. He got stripped of the captaincy. You cannot let your players do that. So it's obviously a big mindset of his that it just looks like he's fallen out of love with the game.
And look at where Arsenal have gone now since, like, it's just
exactly
like crazy how one player leaving is then one team's on the up, and then Chelsea, he's ended up at Chelsea and Chelsea on the slide. Not trying to point everything at Aubameyang being the reason for Chelsea being in that position. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors, but it's not helping Chelsea's cause this year for having somebody expected to score the high amount of goals, and he's not actually providing that at the minute.
It can make you think, actually, I know we're supposed to be talking about Chelsea, but it can make you think of the impact that would have on a team. Chelsea aren't performing great at the minute. To be honest, they're not. They've got Oba there sat up front. When Oba was there, remember the whole carry on with Granit Xhaka? He went the same way. He was like a bad apple, and everyone thought he has to leave. Like he got the captaincy and stuff like that, and he obviously, when that whole video when he walked off the pitch and the fans were booing him, and he was encouraging it as if to say, like, fuck you. That's all changed now. He's gone. It's all changed. It's like it's all been aired and filtered, and it's like all the shit's gone. You don't know what he's like at Chelsea at the minute. Chelsea aren't. They're not as one at the minute. They're not. It's not slotting together. There's a lot of good players in there, but it's not quite clicking at the minute.
Yep.
We all know Aubameyang's not the answer. Aubameyang's not the answer. But has that been a downward or a backward step to sign him?
I'd come back to the Graham Potter thing as well, though. Like you're saying, he's gonna have a challenge with these types of characters, and Aubameyang epitomises that, doesn't he? So and obviously he wasn't his signing either. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with him. I mean, we don't know 100% that he's doing the same sort of things he's doing at Arsenal, but it'll be interesting to see how he handles Aubameyang compared to how Arteta did. So Chelsea, just to wrap up on their stats, their expected goals are sat at 15.1 and their expected goals against are at 18.4. Let's move on to the starting lineups. What do you guys predict for Newcastle in this last game?
Strong.
I'd like to think that we're gonna, from back to front, Pope. I would probably say Ben will keep at left back, and we'll bring Botman and Cher in with Trips, and then same midfield that we're used to with Joe Linton, Bruno, and Willock, and then front three. I think, although he had a poor game against Palace, I think Maxi will get the start on the left, and then Wilson and Almiron, and there's obviously risks involved in playing some of those players who are World Cup bound, but I think Eddie and those players themselves would take that risk, knowing what the potentials can be of us winning that game just before the break and sitting comfortably in the top four.
So you're dropping Longstaff then?
Sorry, yeah. So it's either Longstaff or
due a
Willock.
rest because
the midfield dilemma rolls on.
Yeah, he looked tired in the cup game though, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He wasn't impactful in the cup game as much. I think,
but it'd be harsh for him to get dropped out. I'd say based on his recent performances, I wouldn't be surprised personally if it's the same team you just mentioned, but Joe Linton's on the left again, and we keep Longstaff in the centre.
Probably.
I think Longstaff keeps his players.
Maxie's now, we can't use any excuse for Maxie not starting due to fitness, because he had a full outing pretty much against Palace, and he's had cameos as well. So I think fitness wise, and he's up to scratch now. I'd like to say match sharpness. Obviously, we talked about in the previous pod about him maybe being lacking that sharpness, and his touch and everything else needs to improve. But I just think there's a chance for him in that Chelsea game. Something just seems to fit for me that Maxi starts that game and just terrorises the defence of Chelsea.
We need him back to that. We need him back to just running riot in defence and fucking having the defence scattered and not having a clue what to do. We need him back to that.
But imagine an informed Maxi like that, and in a team which has got the informed Almiron on the other side. I don't think we've seen it yet, where both sides of our attack
firing,
with Wilson obviously capable of doing it in the middle. We haven't seen that yet, and I don't know, something seems to just be there for me that Maxi can start and just be that informed guy. I know it would be a different story if he obviously came into this game on the back of having smashed 3 goals past Palace in the cup game. He didn't, but I just think something there is I don't know, in my gut I'm thinking he's going to start and have a really good game and be a game changer.
So Pete, do you see the starting lineup very similar? You're not expecting anyone from the cup game to have forced their way in?
I wouldn't say from the cup game.
It was poor generally, wasn't it? So
yeah, I don't think there's necessarily.
Do you think Byrne might get a rest potentially?
I don't know. He has played a lot of games. He obviously played in the cup game, but do you disrupt the defence? I don't think you do. I think Dan Burn stays. And you keep the defence the same. Tripp, Shaw, Botman. I don't think that it's the midfield. It's the midfield that's the tricky part. Joe Willock's playing well. He might be a little bit fatigued at the minute. He ran his bollocks off against Southampton. Like he put a shift in against Southampton. And he played very well. But
didn't have many minutes in the cup though, did he? So
exactly. You never know. So does it just? I think it might just stay the same. The whole Maxi thing, I don't know, purely because of the sharpness.
For me, the Maxi question's the big one.
Yeah. So Maxi, it's the whole match sharpness. I think it'll do him. He's mind a world of good for him to start the main man again. He thrives off it. He thrives off the crowd. When we see him doing his tricks, skinning people, it's fantastic. The crowd get on their feet. He thrives off it. So if he's in from the start, it could be a massive boost. I don't think if Maxi starts, great. If he doesn't start, okay, fair enough. We've been playing well without him. So I don't think it'll be much change. I think that'll be the only potential change. And obviously the whole Willock fitness, will it be Joe Linton, Bruno and Longstaff? But obviously Willock's Willock and Joe Linton had that little rotation on the left, didn't they, where they sort of swapped halfway through the game. Don't know. Eddie Roulette, mate. Eddie Roulette.
Well, this is the thing with Eddie, is he generally keeps pretty much his same team. So I would imagine we do go with the same team that started the last league game. But like we say, that the question mark's really around Maxi. And then my question on the defence and Dan Burn was more because he looks to me like he probably does need a rest, but he's going to get one pretty soon. However, with Maxi starting, we talk quite a lot about that partnership on the left between Target and Maxi. So that could come into the thinking if Maxi starts, bring Target back in as well, and give Dan Burn a rest. But we wait and see. Let's move on to the predictions then. Yeah, last game. So last game. Just need one more game out here, boys, and then you get a nice rest.
Get through it.
So Pete, let's start with you. Prediction for the game.
Prediction.
Just a scoreline is what we need.
We'll win, and I'm going to go 3-0.
I'm going to write these down.
I'm going 3-0.
Right.
You know what?
So, clean sheet and 3 goals. That would
clean
be
sheet, 3-0. Crowd bouncing, absolutely thriving off it. Bruno and Miggy absolutely lapping it up like they do. Bruno and Miggy love that. They love it.
Yeah.
And I think they'll thrive. Even when they're knackered, they're down and out, they still absolutely thrive off the crowd. On a home game on a Saturday night. I mean, I'm absolutely buzzing for the game. Like, I cannot wait.
It's going to be class, isn't it?
Aye, proper mint.
I'm so gutted that it's 3:30 in the morning over here.
Are you going to get up for it?
But I'm on a cruise, mate, so...
Are you actually on a cruise right now?
No, I am on Saturday, so...
Fuck that off.
How the fucking other half live page? Fucking Jesus Christ.
I know. Jesus, man.
I'm getting on the cruise and all. I'm getting on the Shields ferry out at the Fish Quay.
Not that cruise.
I know where I'd want to be.
Bitch.
I'm gonna have to follow Pete on the 3-0. I do think I was thinking would score 3, and I was toying up whether or not Chelsea would get a goal, but I'm gonna give kudos to how good our defence is, and we'll keep another clean sheet, and 3-0. Yeah, I'm gonna back that as well.
Smash up.
See,
don't say 3-0.
No, I was debating between a 2-1 or a 3-1 because I just feel like, although our defence is very good, I feel like Chelsea will probably get a goal. I'll go 3-1. You have persuaded us that we're going to get some goals. So, yeah, that's it then. Mate, if we get 3 points in this...
You sound fucking fed up, mate. Fucking hell.
It's still just so...
3-1.
It's just still so unreal, man. It's like, it's just weird. It's like on one hand, it's exciting, but on the other hand, it's like, am I being stupid here? Like, is this a dream? Anything else, boys, before we sign off?
I just fucking appreciate you, mate. Is this a dream? I get the feeling you cannot be fucking tuned right now.
Pinch yourself.
I've had to put up with your two splatter for like nearly 3 hours now. So.
You've got all that. For those that don't know, Sam's the technical guy, so he's now going to edit all the shit and edit our shit patter out of the podcast.
Probably add some patter in just for good measure. Yeah.
Seb patter.
All right. Okay. See you out then, Pete. See you out, lad.
What else say?
Join us next time for the review of this game. We'll look ahead to the World Cup and we'll have another 3 points in the bag. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks.